I used to believe that love meant trusting someone with everything you have: your heart, your dreams, your savings. For 3 years, I gave Derek all of that without hesitation. We were building a future together, or so I thought. We had a joint savings account for our dream trip to Hawaii, and I worked overtime every single week to make that dream come true. But lately, Derek had been coming home late, always blaming work. I never questioned him. I trusted him completely. That trust was about to shatter into a million pieces. Before we dive into what happened next, let me know in the comments where you are watching from today. If you believe in love and loyalty, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. What I discovered about the man I loved will make you question everything you thought you knew about trust. Let us begin. My name is Sophie, and at 28 years old, I thought I had my life figured out. I worked as a marketing coordinator at a mid-sized company in Atlanta. The job was demanding, but I enjoyed the creative challenges it brought. Derek and I met during our senior year of college. He was charming, funny, and had this way of making me feel like I was the only person in the room. After graduation, we started dating officially. And 3 years later, we were living together in a cozy two-bedroom apartment on the east side of the city. Derek worked in sales for a real estate company. He was good at his job, or at least that is what he always told me. He had a natural charisma that drew people in, and I admired how easily he could connect with strangers. In the beginning, he used that charm on me. He would surprise me with flowers on random Tuesdays, leave little notes in my lunch bag, and plan spontaneous weekend getaways. I fell hard for him, and I never looked back. About 18 months ago, we decided to start saving for a trip to Hawaii. It had been our dream since the early days of our relationship. We would lie in bed at night scrolling through pictures of Maui beaches and planning which restaurants we would try. Derek suggested we open a joint savings account, and I agreed without hesitation. We each committed to depositing $500 every month. But I wanted to make our dream happen faster, so I started taking freelance projects on weekends. While Derek went out with his friends on Saturday nights, I stayed home working on design projects for extra cash. After 18 months of disciplined saving, we had accumulated nearly $12,000. I had already researched everything: the best hotels in Waikiki, the most romantic dinner spots, the top-rated snorkeling tours. I created a detailed spreadsheet with our itinerary budget breakdowns and packing lists. Derek would laugh at how organized I was, but I could tell he appreciated it. Or at least I thought he did. About a month before everything fell apart, I started noticing small changes in Derek. He was constantly on his phone texting late into the night. When I asked who he was talking to, he would say it was a demanding client who needed constant attention. Real estate never sleeps, he would joke. I believed him. Why would I not? He had never given me a reason to doubt him before. Then came the weekend trips. Derek started traveling for work more frequently, something that had rarely happened in the past. He would leave on Friday afternoons and return Sunday evenings, always exhausted and irritable. I offered to go with him once, thinking we could make it a mini vacation. He quickly shut that down, saying these trips were strictly business and incredibly boring. I did not push further. I trusted him. One evening, I noticed Derek had changed the passcode on his phone. When I asked about it, he said his company required employees to update their security settings regularly. It sounded reasonable enough. I pushed the uncomfortable feeling down and told myself I was being paranoid. Jealousy was not attractive, and I refused to be that kind of girlfriend. Then came that Friday afternoon that changed everything. My company had let everyone leave early because the CEO was in a generous mood after landing a major client. I rushed home, excited to surprise Derek with a homemade dinner. I stopped at the grocery store and picked up ingredients for his favorite meal, chicken parmesan, with homemade marinara sauce. I imagined his face lighting up when he walked through the door. But when I got home, something felt off. Derek's large suitcase was sitting by the front door, fully packed. He came out of the bedroom carrying his toiletry bag, clearly surprised to see me. "Oh, you are home early," he said, his voice slightly strained. I asked him what was going on with the suitcase. He explained that his boss had called him that morning with an urgent assignment. A major client in Miami needed hand-holding through a complicated deal. He would be gone for 3 days. My heart sank a little. I had been looking forward to spending the weekend together. But I swallowed my disappointment and helped him finish packing. I kissed him goodbye at the door and told him to call me when he landed. He promised he would. After he left, I decided to clean the apartment to keep myself busy. I was vacuuming under the desk in our home office when I found it. A folded piece of paper had fallen behind the desk and gotten wedged against the wall. I picked it up and unfolded it, expecting it to be an old receipt or junk mail. It was a hotel confirmation printout. But instead of Miami, the destination was Cancun, Mexico. The reservation was for a luxury beachfront resort booked for 3 nights. And there were 2 names on the booking, Derek Thompson and Megan Sullivan. I read the names 3 times, convinced I was seeing things. My hands started trembling. Who was Megan Sullivan? Why was Derek going to Cancun instead of Miami? Why was he sharing a room with another woman? I tried to rationalize it. Maybe Megan was a colleague. Maybe the company had booked them in the same room to save money. Maybe there was a perfectly innocent explanation. But deep down, a cold dread was spreading through my chest. With shaking hands, I opened the banking app on my phone and navigated to our joint savings account. I needed to see that our money was still there, that at least one part of my life was still intact. The screen loaded and my world collapsed. Account balance $320. I blinked. I refreshed the page. I logged out and logged back in. The number did not change. Nearly $12,000 had vanished. According to the transaction history, Derek had withdrawn the entire amount in cash 3 days ago. I called the bank immediately. The customer service representative confirmed what I already knew. Derek Thompson had made a cash withdrawal from the joint account. Since both our names were on the account, no additional authorization was required. I hung up the phone and sat down on the cold kitchen floor. The grocery bags were still sitting on the counter, the chicken slowly warming to room temperature. I could not move. I could not think. All those weekends I had spent working instead of living, all those sacrifices I had made. He had taken everything. The tears came then hot and unstoppable. I cried until my throat was raw and my eyes were swollen. Everything I thought I knew about Derek, about us, about my future, had been a lie. And somewhere in Cancun, he was spending my money on another woman. I did not sleep that night. Instead, I sat at the desk in our home office staring at Derek's laptop. He had left it behind, probably thinking he would not need it for his romantic getaway. The screen glowed in the darkness as I tried password after password. Finally, on my 6th attempt, I got in. He had used the name of his childhood dog, something he had told me during one of our early dates. His email inbox was still logged in. I hesitated for a moment, feeling like I was crossing a line. But then I remembered the empty bank account and the hotel reservation with another woman's name, and my guilt evaporated. I scrolled through his recent emails and found a folder labeled M. Inside were hundreds of messages exchanged between Derek and someone named Megan Sullivan. The oldest email was dated 6 months ago. The first few messages were professional enough. Megan was apparently a new hire at Derek's company, and he was showing her the ropes. But the tone shifted quickly. Within weeks, they were exchanging flirty messages. Within a month, they were declaring their love for each other. I read email after email, each one more devastating than the last. Derek called Megan his soulmate, his future, his everything. In one particularly painful message, he wrote about me. He said I was just a habit he had not figured out how to break. He said I was boring and predictable. He said Megan made him feel alive in a way I never could. The Cancun trip was a birthday present for Megan. Derek had planned every detail: a private sunset cruise, a couples massage at the resort spa, a candlelit dinner on the beach. These were all things he had promised me for Hawaii. He had stolen not just my money, but my dreams. I discovered that Megan was 24 years old, 4 years younger than me. From her social media profiles, which Derek had conveniently bookmarked, I learned she had graduated from college just 2 years ago. She was pretty in that effortless way that made me feel suddenly old and inadequate. I tried calling Derek repeatedly that night and the next morning. He did not answer. I sent text messages asking him to explain what had happened to our savings. He responded hours later with a brief message saying he was busy with work and would talk when he got back. Saturday evening, Derek finally called. I could hear music in the background, laughter, the unmistakable sounds of a party. My heart pounded as I answered. "Derek, where is our money?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "And who is Megan?" There was a long pause. I heard him sigh the same exasperated sigh he used when I asked him to do household chores. "Sophie, relax," he said, his voice dripping with annoyance. "You will get over it. It is just money." "Just money," I repeated, my voice rising. "That was 18 months of my life, Derek. 18 months of working weekends while you went out with your friends." "Where are you right now?" He did not even try to lie. "I am in Cancun," he said flatly. "With Megan. She is someone who actually makes me happy, Sophie. She is not constantly nagging me or planning every second of our lives." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. 3 years together, and this is how he saw me. A nag, a burden. "We can talk when I get back." He continued, his tone dismissive. "Stop being so dramatic." He hung up before I could respond. Minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The message contained a photo of Derek and a young blonde woman on a beach, their arms wrapped around each other, the sunset painting the sky behind them. The accompanying message read, "He told me all about you. You are pathetic for thinking he would choose you. He is mine now. Move on, sweetie." It was from Megan. I stared at the screen, humiliation burning through me. This woman, this stranger, was mocking me while enjoying a vacation paid for with my hard-earned money. She had everything I had worked for, and she was rubbing it in my face. The next morning, I made the mistake of reaching out to Derek's friends, hoping someone might talk sense into him. Marcus, his best friend since high school, was my first call. His response was a knife to the heart. "Come on, Sophie," he said with a laugh. "Everyone knew Derek was bored with you. You had to see this coming." Another friend, Tyler, sent me a text message that was even crueler. He wrote that Megan was way more fun than me and that I should have tried harder to keep Derek interested. I later learned that Derek had a group chat with his friends where they had been discussing his affair for months. They called me names I will not repeat. They made jokes about how oblivious I was. They placed bets on how long it would take me to find out. I had never felt so humiliated in my entire life. That night, I reached my lowest point. I sat alone in our apartment, surrounded by memories of a relationship that had been a lie. I questioned everything about myself. Was I really that boring? That unlovable? Had I driven Derek away? I called Jenna, my best friend from high school, who now lived across town. She answered on the second ring, and when she heard my voice crack, she did not hesitate. "I am on my way," she said. 30 minutes later, Jenna was sitting beside me on the couch, holding my hand while I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from shock to anger to heartbreak. When I finished, she pulled me into a tight hug. "Sophie," she said firmly, "you deserve so much better than this. Derek is not worth a single one of your tears." In that moment, something shifted inside me. The sadness was still there, overwhelming and suffocating. But underneath it, a small flame of anger had ignited. Derek had taken my money, my trust, my dignity. But I was not going to let him take my future. I woke up the next morning with a new sense of purpose. Jenna had stayed the night sleeping on the couch in case I needed her. Over coffee, we made a plan. My first call was to Harrison, a lawyer my family had used for years. I explained the situation, and he listened carefully before giving me his assessment. The joint account complicated things legally. Since both our names were on it, Derek had every right to withdraw the funds. However, if I could prove that we had a verbal agreement about the purpose of that money, I might have grounds for a civil lawsuit. I spent the morning gathering evidence. I screenshot every email between Derek and Megan. I saved the text message from Megan with the beach photo. I documented everything I could find about the Cancun trip, including receipts Derek had forwarded to his personal email. During my research, I stumbled onto something unexpected. Hidden in a subfolder of Derek's email was correspondence with his company's accounting department. As I read through the messages, my eyes widened. Derek had been embezzling money from client escrow accounts. He had taken over $30,000 over the past 8 months, using it to fund his lifestyle and cover gambling debts I never knew he had. The company had not caught on yet, but an internal audit was scheduled for the following month. I saved every piece of evidence. Then I made a decision that would change everything. I found the contact information for Margaret Thompson, the CEO of Derek's company. I composed a careful professional email explaining that I had information regarding financial irregularities involving one of her employees. I did not accuse Derek directly. I simply said I had documentation that might be relevant to their upcoming audit. Mrs. Thompson called me within the hour. She was direct and professional. The company had suspected something was wrong with certain accounts, but had not been able to pinpoint the source. When I offered to share what I had found, she was genuinely grateful. I sent her everything. The emails discussing Derek's debts, the correspondence showing he had accessed client funds, the paper trail that led directly to his doorstep. Meanwhile, I began reclaiming my life. I boxed up all of Derek's belongings, every shirt, every pair of shoes, every stupid sports memorabilia item he treasured. I stacked the boxes in the hallway outside our apartment door. Then I called a locksmith and had all the locks changed. The apartment lease was in my name. I had signed it originally, and Derek had simply moved in with me. Legally, he had no claim to the space. I informed the building manager that Derek no longer lived there and should not be given access. Finally, I transferred the remaining $320 from our joint account to my personal savings. Then I closed the joint account permanently. Whatever financial ties existed between us were severed. 3 days after he left, Derek returned from Cancun. His first indication that something was wrong came when he tried to enter the apartment and his key did not work. He called me and I could hear the confusion and anger in his voice. "Sophie, why are all my things in the hallway? Why is the lock changed?" I kept my voice calm and steady. "You made your choice, Derek. Now you have to live with it." He sputtered and threatened. He said I could not just kick him out. He said he would call the police. "Go ahead," I replied. "The lease is in my name. You have no legal right to be here. Your belongings are in the hallway. Take them and leave." He pounded on the door for 10 minutes, shouting and cursing. I sat on the couch with my phone in my hand, ready to call 911 if necessary. Eventually, he gave up. I heard him dragging his boxes down the hallway toward the elevator. The next day, Derek's world collapsed. He was called into Mrs. Thompson's office first thing in the morning. By noon, he had been terminated. The company was pressing charges for embezzlement. His professional reputation, the career he had built over years, was destroyed in a single meeting. That evening, my phone started buzzing with voicemail notifications. Derek had discovered that I was the one who provided the evidence to his company. The first voicemail was filled with rage. He screamed that I had ruined his life, that I was a vindictive monster, that he would make me pay. The second voicemail came an hour later. His voice was different, smaller. He said he needed help, that everything was falling apart. By the third voicemail, he was crying. He told me Megan had dumped him the moment she found out he lost his job. She had called him a loser and blocked his number. The woman he had given up everything for had abandoned him at the first sign of trouble. The fourth voicemail was pure desperation. He begged me to talk to him, to give him a chance to explain. He said he made a terrible mistake. The fifth voicemail was barely coherent. He sobbed about losing his job, his apartment, his car. Everything was being taken away. His parents had reluctantly agreed to let him move back home, but they were furious and disappointed. The final voicemail was the one that stuck with me. Through broken sobs, Derek choked out the words, "Sophie, please. I have nothing left. You were always the only one who truly cared about me." I listened to that voicemail 3 times, not because it made me feel good, but because it crystallized something important. Derek was not crying because he lost me. He was crying because he lost everything else: his money, his job, his image. I had been convenient for him, a safety net. And now that the net was gone, he was falling. I deleted all the voicemails. I blocked his number. And then I sat down with Jenna and had the first peaceful meal I had enjoyed in weeks. "You did not destroy his life," Jenna said, pouring us both glasses of wine. "He destroyed it himself. You just refused to be his safety net anymore." She was right. Derek's choices had led him to this moment. I had simply stopped protecting him from the consequences. The weeks that followed were not easy. Healing never is. Some nights I would wake up reaching for Derek's side of the bed, only to find cold, empty sheets. Old habits die hard, even when they are attached to people who hurt us. I would lie there in the darkness, questioning my decisions. Had I been too harsh? Should I have given him another chance? But every morning, I reminded myself of the truth. I deserved respect. I deserved honesty. I deserved a partner who saw me as more than a convenience. I started filling my life with things I had neglected during my relationship with Derek. I signed up for a morning yoga class, something I had always wanted to try, but Derek had dismissed as a waste of time and money. I dusted off my old journal and started writing again, processing my emotions on paper. I reconnected with friends I had drifted away from, people who welcomed me back without judgment. Work became my refuge. I threw myself into projects with renewed energy. 3 months after the breakup, I pitched an innovative campaign to my boss that caught the attention of senior leadership. By the end of the quarter, I had been promoted to senior manager with a significant raise. For the first time, I was saving money for my own dreams, not anyone else's. 6 months after Derek left for Cancun with another woman and my money, I booked a solo trip to Hawaii. Standing on Waikiki Beach, I watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. The waves lapped gently at my feet. I was alone, but I did not feel lonely. I felt free. I took a selfie with the ocean behind me, my smile genuine for the first time in months. I did not post it on social media. I did not need anyone else's validation. That moment was mine alone. During my trip, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Derek was still living with his parents. He was working a minimum wage job while paying restitution to his former company as part of a plea deal to avoid prison time. Megan, meanwhile, had moved on to a wealthy businessman she met at a club. She had never cared about Derek. She had cared about what he could give her. I felt nothing when I heard this news. No satisfaction, no pity, just emptiness where anger used to live. Derek had become a stranger, someone from another lifetime. The greatest lesson I learned from this experience was about self-worth. For 3 years, I had poured everything into a relationship with someone who saw me as disposable. I had ignored red flags and made excuses for behavior that should have been unacceptable. I had trusted blindly when trust should have been earned. I do not regret loving Derek. That love taught me what I wanted, and more importantly, what I refused to accept. It taught me that walking away is not weakness. Sometimes leaving is the bravest thing you can do. I stopped carrying anger toward Derek and Megan. Resentment is a chain that keeps you tied to the people who hurt you. By letting go of my bitterness, I freed myself from them completely. A year after my world fell apart, I was sitting in my favorite coffee shop on a Saturday morning. Sunlight streamed through the windows, warming my face. I had a new book in my hands and a perfect latte on the table beside me. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Nathan, a colleague from the design department who had recently joined our company. We had been talking more lately, grabbing lunch together, sharing jokes in the break room. His message was simple. Would you like to get dinner sometime? I smiled, thinking about it for a moment. My instinct was to say no to protect myself from the possibility of getting hurt again. But I had also learned that closing yourself off from love entirely was just another kind of prison. I typed my response. Sure, why not? I did not know what the future held. Maybe Nathan would turn out to be wonderful. Maybe he would disappoint me. But I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I would never again allow anyone to treat me the way Derek did. I had learned my worth, and I refused to settle for less. As I gathered my things and stepped out into the sunshine, I felt something I had not experienced in a long time. Hope. Not hope for a perfect life or a fairy tale romance, but hope that whatever came next, I would face it as someone who loved herself first. That was the real gift, hidden inside my pain. I lost money. I lost time. I lost trust. But I found something far more valuable. I found myself. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever trusted someone completely only to be betrayed? How did you find the strength to move forward? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who is going through something similar right now. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel for more real-life stories about love betrayal and the strength we find within ourselves. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Remember, no matter what you are going through, you are stronger than you know. You deserve love, respect, and honesty. Never settle for less. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next story.